Hey everybody, I'm Zach,
I'm Jesse.
and you're watching the Patreon bonus stories. And just a super special thank you. I was able to go to the Boring Tunnel Party, and the whole reason I could go, let's be completely honest, is because you guys are supporting us.
Yep.
Because it is not cheap to fly across the country, go to hotels, get Ubers, eat, all that stuff. And when Jesse and I were planning it out and talking about it, we're like, I don't know, can we go?
Right.
And luckily, we were able to represent our whole community there with, all these other cool YouTubers. I mean, I got to meet Casey Neistat. I got to finally shake Elon's hand.
Right. And I think that
It's because of you.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is that Casey Neistat was there. For those of you who don't know, he was one of the biggest YouTubers. I think he's still huge.
Big idol of mine.
More people were coming up to Zach than were coming up to Casey.
It's an honor. Like, to be there shooting and then have people come up to me and be like, oh my God, it's Zach. Where's Jesse? First of all, everyone wanted to know who we were.
I was at work.
Yeah, there was other huge YouTubers there. We're talking Jay from What's Inside channel. I mean, just tons of other YouTubers. We were getting all the attention. I don't know why, but I thank you, and
Yeah.
I thank our fans. And yeah, it really was special.
All
It
right.
was really awesome.
So let's get into the stories, because that's what
You're here for. All right, so what is this I hear about some more information on the Gigafactory 3?
So just recently there was a drone flyover that was released. As you can see, it's mostly a very big muddy field surrounded by a perimeter fence.
A couple things I want to point out. I'm
Yeah.
a construction supervisor. I am very impressed that this plot of land is completely cleared, because normally you got to spend a lot of work to clear whatever was there, like an old factory or houses or trees. It's completely cleared. It's completely flat, which, I mean, makes this so much easier because they're going to pour a slab on that. And if
Yep.
it's been cleared and flat, that's like 80% of the work is done. Because a lot of times you're spending just a lot of site work,
Right.
Tons of bulldozers. Here it looks like they're just pretty much ready to pour.
It looks like they already bulldozed to me.
Right. Well, I don't know if the last owner had already prepped it for a factory, or maybe it was just, I think it was just farmland.
Right.
And so,
I think they just bulldozed all the farmland off.
right. But I mean, so that's one reason why they can do this so fast, is that they're basically going to be able to just
Right.
gun
Start
and
from
go.
scratch. Yeah.
Plus, I think normally, if you were building a factory this big, there'd be a lot of reports, environmental reports and stuff like that. I don't think you need to do them in China, or at least to the extent that you have to do them here.
Right.
And that speeds things way up, because I can't imagine that you buy the land and then a couple weeks later you start working on it without having to do tons of environmental reports.
Yeah. So I mean, I love the environment.
I do too. I don't think in this case it would have affected the environment,
No.
because you're just pouring a big slab. But yeah, very interesting. And I mean, if we keep getting this drone footage, it's going to be really cool
To see the
because
growth,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll be able to see the growth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Obviously, it is really early, so if people are like, "Well, that's ridiculous. They haven't done anything," it's like, well, it's
I also think the only
It's
place you're going to be
really
able to see the drone footage is probably here on Patreon bonus stories, because a lot of this, these are private YouTube channels, and you should go watch that there and support them, because they're doing this work.
right. I don't know. I'm excited.
I'm really excited.
It's a big plot of land. There's enough room for the Gigafactory 1 in this plot of land.
And as we pointed out before, Tesla does not have to build an entire Gigafactory 1 before they start building cars. They just need to build basically one little square.
right.
We may be right or wrong about what's going on in Lathrop, and it's pronounced Lathrop.
Lathrop.
Lathrop, California is that kind of new factory that they're building, and no one knows exactly what's going in there. And we conjectured it might be the Model Y, the Semi. If it is the Model Y that's being built there, they're probably going to learn how to build it and then just try to copy as exactly as possible over to China. Because if you do think about it, it's no easy feat to mimic a line in another country.
It's true.
You got so many different language barriers and all sorts of things you have to do, like
The supply chain, it's going to be
right.
tricky.
because everything has to be identical. Like you can't just take X robot and then use Y robot over there. Like,
That's true. But I
So-
mean, when we're getting down to the bolts and nuts of it, do you think it needs to be that identical?
I don't know. It depends on the manufacturing process. If it looks like assembly line 4, which is in the tent at Fremont, then no, because that's just people largely. What we saw, if you watched that 60 Minutes documentary and really paid attention to not the interview but looked behind them, it was all people.
It's true. There was a lot of people there. Yeah.
But I think they're going to be doing as many robots as possible. So unless they're going in a completely different direction than before. But I really do think to get the economies of scale and to get the speed, you're going to have to go robots.
I'm thinking that it's going to be cheaper to manufacture with people in China.
I agree, but on the same token, eventually, once you've got the robots trained, it's faster to do it that way. I don't know. It's going to be a really cool process to learn about.
Right. So this is just the very beginning.
Do you think we'll get a Gigafactory 3 tour?
Sure. I'll do a Gigafactory 3 tour.
So I think we should just show this in full, and maybe while it's playing, we'll just kind of give our thoughts. So as you can see here, a woman pulls into a gas station in a Tesla. So already we're off to a bad start.
Yes.
So it's pretty obvious that either one of two things is going on here. Either this is a prank, and this isn't for real, or this is a person who has no idea what she just drove in on.
Which is weird. So I just want to play out here what happened.
Okay.
It's either she just bought a Model S and has absolutely no idea how it works.
Maybe it was that 5-minute driving by situation.
Potentially. Or she's borrowing someone's car.
Yeah, it might be that, her boyfriend was like, oh yeah, you can borrow my Tesla today.
Right. So she
something.
goes to the gas station and the weird thing is she figures out how to open the charge port door.
Well, let's go back one more step. She knows that she's low on energy.
Right.
Like, and the way in a Tesla is it's a little green battery. So her little green battery is now turned, let's say, orange or red, but it's still a battery.
I'm thinking that she's probably getting some kind of notification from the car that's saying you must charge the car.
Well, yeah, but still, wouldn't that be in the little battery section where it's...
I think it's probably a blaring warning. I think that
I've never gotten a blaring warning.
Right, because you drive it very responsibly.
I don't know that you get no. I've seen Bjorn go down to 1 kilometer, and there's no blaring warning. You might get a little flashing thing, but it's still a battery. Anyway, she pulls into a gas station, and now the guy behind her is laughing so hard, and I can see that, okay. But as soon as she picks up the pump, I would get out of my car, and I know someone eventually does run over to her, but not before...
That's the guy sitting next to him.
Okay, but not before she actually physically puts the nozzle into the car. Now, I know you can't slide it in very far, but what if she had somehow been able to get some gas to shoot out of that thing?
It would have shot out of the thing, let's be honest.
Right.
Gas pumps are not these magical safe things that know when they're interlocked with a car.
No.
There's nothing of that.
I was expecting some gas to shoot out. Now, I'm not saying it would have blown up the car or anything, but that would have been a horribly messy situation.
It's true. Yeah, definitely not good to get.
So if you do see someone doing this, please just go inform them before they even get to that step.
Yeah, don't laugh at them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can laugh at them
inform
after
them,
the fact.
educate them.
So, I mean, she learned her lesson, it seems.
Because let's not forget, throughout human history, cars have had to fill up at gas stations, and so that's what she's used to.
I mean, there was the electrics back in the...
But she wasn't alive during that time.
I know. I'm just
during
saying.
her life, she's only heard of filling up at a gas station.
It's true. It seems, and I want to push the blame. It's not really on her.
It's on whoever let her borrow the car.
Right. Don't just let them borrow your car.
Well, unless it is on her. Maybe she did just buy the car. I don't know.
We can't know either way.
We need more information.
Whoever it was who loaned her this car,
please contact us.
Yeah,
so we can berate
what the heck
you.
is wrong with you? If you know that she had to travel a distance where she needed to fill up.
Yeah, right. I don't know, just a quick mention. Oh, by the way,
it's electric.
All right, so what is this, Jesse?
So this is the world's first test tube steak.
Okay,
so they are growing. We're going to show bits and clips of this.
Okay.
This lab-grown meat is not just a plant-based alternative like the Impossible Burger.
There's a technology that exists that allows us to, for all intents and purposes, have our bacon and eat it too, without any pigs being harmed.
Cultured meat, lab-grown meat, clean meat, whatever you want to call it, is identical to conventional meat at the cellular level, just grown in a lab, no slaughter involved. Its arrival could have massive implications for meat eaters, the U.S.'s $200 billion meat industry, and the environment.
Test tube steak.
Yeah, so they're actually growing steak. Normally how you grow a steak is you birth a cow.
Okay.
And then you raise it until it's a certain age, and then you kill the cow, and you cut its body into pieces, and then you eat it.
Okay.
Usually you cook it.
Okay.
What they're going to do here is they're going to grow the meat in a test tube. So you're not growing a cow, you're growing meat of a cow in a petri dish.
Okay,
kind of
so
thing.
so not like what we call like a test tube baby where you're growing a cow without
there's no like
there's no
brain or
You're-
head or ears
you're growing
or
just the meat?
hooves or tail. It's
Okay.
just the meat part.
Okay.
So
And-
it's vegan.
No.
In that
no.
sense.
No, I want you to stop right there.
It's you're not killing an animal. So
and I get you, and I think that's wonderful because I totally agree that there's a whole bunch of parts of that process. Yes,
That are problematic.
Yes, so you're not growing an animal with feelings. That's awesome, and you're not doing the whole factory farming where you're feeding it corn and soy, creating all that poop to deal with, like trucking them. Great. So
Right.
two great things, but here's the part where I would like to interject, and I never hear this as part of the articles or the videos, which is it's still meat protein.
it's not healthy for you.
It's not healthy.
It's not terribly
and
healthy.
if we're
for you.
and if we're super successful at doing this, and we can grow it really cheap and whatever, then people are going to be like, "Great! I can have my 9-ounce steak today with eggs, and I can have it for lunch, and I can have it for dinner, and I can and
Well, it's still good for climate change.
great for climate change."
You don't need
Sure.
to do all of the awful stuff that you need to do
Yes.
to grow cattle.
Yes.
There's none of that. You
I
need to
just
worry
wish
about.
that part of this discussion that we had an
Was the health benefit.
open and honest discussion
Yeah.
about the health benefit because when you eat a steak or a burger, much of the reason why you're eating it, I believe, is because you've charbroiled it, you've seasoned it, you've spiced it to make it taste good.
You're not just going to take a steak from the grocery store, take it out of its packaging, slap it down on,
On your plate.
you're not going to boil it.
Right.
And then just try to eat it. We're not going into the meat for the flavor of the meat. We're going into it for the salt and the seasoning and the cooking.
Because we grew up with it largely.
Yeah.
I'm just arguing, why don't we switch to plant-based? We'll get the protein. It's still good for the environment, and it'll be good for us.
And so you're talking about like Impossible Burger.
Right. I mean, so for instance, while I was in LA and I'm hanging out with Jehu, we introduced him to Impossible Burger. And I asked him, I said, if I didn't tell you that this was plant-based, would you be able to tell? And he's like, I don't think I would have.
Right. I mean, there are. So what we're saying here is that there are meat substitutes that are basically identical to meat.
And we just started on it. And if you can barely tell now, imagine 5 years from now. Health should be probably the most important factor. Like,
I'm gonna argue that it's climate change. I'm gonna argue that you can get, because here's the thing,
But
you can get a red-blooded American to eat a steak that was made in a test tube. You've eliminated all of the bad climate impacts.
sure.
That guy is not gonna eat your Impossible Burger.
Why?
He's gonna.
How do you know?
He's gonna walk in there like.
They're selling them now at Fatburger. They're selling them now at Wahlburger. They're selling them now like all over the country.
I understand, but you are going to eat that burger
But if he can't taste the difference, why wouldn't he?
because he wants the real thing. So he's going to get the real thing if he can get the test tube steak, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's good for
Will
you."
he still consider that the real thing?
I don't know. I hope so. I think that
Red-blooded Americans out there, and I know there's
yeah,
some
I know
of you
there's
out there.
some of you that are like,
Let me
"Stop
know.
talking about this. I don't care."
Tell me in the comments though, if
Would
let's say
you
that
eat the
let's
test
go
tube
ahead
steak?
5 or 10 years and they perfected it, right? And if it's an AB, you can't tell. Would you order it?
What the test
The
tube
test
steak?
tube steak over a real steak?
I think they've already gotten it close enough. It's our. It's
I'm
meat.
putting a hypothetical out there to you. If they had it so that you like it looked like it, tastes like it, would you order it?
the test tube steak.
Yes.
If at the same time they had a plant-based option, which you also could not tell the difference of. So there's there are 3 plates: one with the real burger, one with the test tube burger, and one with the vegan burger. They looked identical.
I think you're missing my point, which is human health.
It's important. I'm not trying to downplay that, but
I
you know
think
what?
it's the most important.
It's climate change. It's more important.
But what I'm saying is, as a factor, if you were told of these 3 steaks,
Oh,
this one
absolutely.
takes care of everything. The Impossible Burger takes care of your health and the planet,
I agree.
and the cruelty to animals and the poop and everything.
Sure.
Why wouldn't that be the one you would choose?
It would be the one that I choose.
And that's
saying
what I'm asking people.
I want there to be more choice for other people
Sure.
to make not as good decisions, but better decisions than they would usually have access to.
All I'm arguing is that we include health in the discussion.
Sure.
All right.
That's all we discussed. So you're welcome. You got the whole thing.
All right, let's go on to something funny here. You guys know the movie Interstellar? Directed by Christopher Nolan. Really fun, awesome movie. And let's take a look at this clip. I hear there's an Interstellar 2 coming out.
Okay, this is bad. Actually, not too bad.
There's no point using our fuel.
Rotated 360 degrees.
What are you doing?
Ocean landing.
Its rotation is 67, 68 RPM.
And achieve enough margin to bring it all the way back to land.
It's not possible.
When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. This may sound corny, but love is the answer.
What are you doing?
This is no time for...
There are many, many simulations. These simulations are, you might as well call them reality, or you could call them multiverse. No controls touched at any point during the entire journey.
And it's still tripping me out. I mean, I'm tripping balls here.
So this is from the ocean landing of the booster when the grid fins locked up,
Right.
and they just kind of interspliced it. It's what I was thinking in my head when I was seeing the footage of the booster spiraling into the ocean. Is the scene from Interstellar, because
Right.
there's a scene from Interstellar where everything's spinning.
Right.
So they I think it's.
But in that one, Matthew McConaughey actually gets control of it. Like it's all his gut instinct and stuff. But here, it's computers did it.
right.
And those were nitrogen thrusters, right? By the way, that in real life slowed the spin.
It's true. A lot of people. I was watching Scott Manley. He did the math on this, where a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's just because the legs went down." The legs would slow it down by half, but it still has the same rotational energy. In fact, when the legs go down, it makes it harder. And this is why the legs don't come down immediately. It makes it harder for the reaction control thrusters to control the craft, because now you have a bigger inertia. So
Right.
it's like when you're on the
so if you're
rolly chair.
So if you're stable, it helps. But if you have any instability at all, it doesn't help.
It never helps.
Right.
Because now you have less control.
Right.
So that's why they only come out at the end.
But I had thought there were 3 engines firing, and there's only one I hear.
So there was 3 at the beginning.
Oh, but
on
one
its,
at the
on
end.
Its come in, burn, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever the
The initial ascent.
yeah, well, sure.
Right. But so there's one at the end. And that's still gimbaling, but it doesn't really have enough force.
It doesn't have a lot of torque,
No,
but it
it's-
does have a lot of force, which gives it
Right.
a lot of torque.
But
So
it's the nitrogen thrusters, which are those side ones you see when you're looking down at the grid fins. It's the ones that
It's
are
the one
going
that's
like
shooting off to the side.
Right.
So yeah,
It's really. And another thing I learned, The grid fins, there's 4 of them, right? And every 180 degrees, whatever one fin's doing, the other is doing the same. Not the same, but the 180 degree opposite.
It doesn't have to.
But that's what it's doing.
Well, in that, because it's trying to rotate.
Right, but I mean it has 2. It's
well, I mean they can all be independently controlled, and that's how. Yep.
Oh.
That's
really?
So that way you can control yaw, pitch, and roll.
Oh,
you control everything from those 4 fins.
Gotcha.
At least when it's falling down.
But that's why they were locked in the same position, because they were trying to.
They were trying to do a correction twist, and I think that's what killed the.
It's just so cool when there's a mistake, because you learn so much.
It's
like
true.
when everything goes perfectly, it's almost harder in a way to learn.
It's true.
Because then when we saw it on its side, and Scott Manley kind of breaks down like what each thing is doing. Go to Scott Manley's channel, by the way. He's awesome.
If you're interested in space travel, if like you want to be an astronaut, head over there.
No, that's a really
Kerbal
good
Space
point.
Program.
That's like, I mean, when you're a kid and you want to be an astronaut, and you're like, I guess I just have to wait till someday I'm in the Air Force.
You can
like,
land on the moon
Right.
in Kerbal Space Program. By the way, like I know that this is coming out Christmas Eve. If you're like, oh crap, I didn't get any presents for my children.
Oh, that's right. You don't have to go to the store.
Or if you have some niece or nephew that you
you can get Kerbal Space Program
on Steam.
On Steam,
you can buy it now
Right.
and have it. And we're not paid.
And
by
if you're
Kerbal
like, what
Space
is he
Program?
talking about? Steam? Just go to steam.com, right?
Yeah, it's basically a way that you can buy and play games on your computer without having to
You know
put a
what?
disc
I'm
into
going to go
the-
a little further here. If you have a niece, nephew, a child, whatever, that's in the right age to do this,
And I would say 10 and up.
I would say this is a great gift, because it's not like one of those gifts where they open it up, they play with it for 5 minutes, and then it's junk. This is something where they can keep coming back to it as often as they want to,
Mm-hmm.
and they can do it with you. Like, it's so wonderful to do it with your child or with your niece or nephew. Like,
Right.
So I think that would be a great gift.
Yeah, I mean, I think Steam totals up the hours that I've played. I've played over maybe 500 hours.
And
of this
again,
game.
if you don't know what we're talking about, we have a play video. I think we have 2 for Kerbal Space
Right,
Program.
where
So
we both. I think we failed to land on the moon.
which is failure is a chance to learn.
Anyway, just
Go check it out.
wanted to tell you about it. We're not paid or sponsored by them or
No,
anything, but
it's
like
just
you're
really-
our Patreons, and
Right.
we're shooting the breeze here.
Yeah.
One other thing before we go, build your own robot kit. Or build your own robot.
Great Christmas present.
Great Christmas present. I know it's too late. I know that you're not going to be able to get this, but
That's fine.
for next year, because they
Yeah.
need support right now. If you head over to their Kickstarter, you
Right.
type in Bior and then you type in Kickstarter, you can find their Kickstarter, and they have a bunch of great videos. Really, really good. We know the founder of the company, and he is
Yeah, you can see an interview with him in our videos.
right. He's great.
He is great.
And we're working with him
Mm-hmm.
to come up with like a curriculum that you can follow with your kids with this.
Yeah.
It's got a whole storyline.
Yeah.
And we're giving you the inside scoop here because
Yeah.
we're not telling anyone else because you're our Patreons. But it'll have a storyline. It'll be fun and exciting. Another great thing to
Open-ended imagination.
Right. Another great
Yeah.
thing to learn
Science.
with your kids. So head over to BOR, BOR,
Build your own robot.
BOR, build your own robot, because it's great.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.
Yeah, that was.
See you next week.
See you next week.